Okay.
All right, social media for the show.
Yes. Social media. Okay. Um, yes. So, um, I am posting every artist, um, who's in the show. There's a picture of their work, their name, and their website, along with the show information. And in order to protect the work, so some stranger can't just download an image, it's uh, the logo for the show and all the other information for the show are within. So I'm making a picture. So if you download it, you're going to get all the show information and the show logo too. You won't just get the artist's work. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what size is the image itself?
I can't remember. I don't know. I do it in Photoshop. It's not a big
Oh,
size anyway. It's for
Facebook Facebook limits image size to 2048 long dimension.
right. I do it for in I post it, it goes to from Instagram to Facebook. So I'm only doing one post for both places.
So that's smaller than 2048. I think
Well,
Instagram is about 12 or 1400.
I really don't know those details. But the point is that even if somebody did want to download it, it, it would have all the show logo information on it. So it would not be just the pure image. So that protects the artist as well. So, and what I've done is I've created these images in Photoshop and a template, right? So they all have the same. So I'm not reinventing the wheel each time
Yeah.
because that doesn't make sense. And then they're all in the cloud, so I can post from my phone or post on the road. Or, but what I actually do is I like to go to the artist's website, so I have the language in which to post, right? Because if you look at something, is it a painting, is it a drawing, or a photograph? You really can't necessarily tell on Instagram. And then, I'll try to extrapolate some words that are specific to their work, like, something like they could be vague or really specific sorts of things. But going to the about, not everyone has a website. The majority of people seem to, but the about page is very important because it really does give me a better idea of the person's work and what they're thinking, what's in their mind. Some people just have Instagram, um, or or maybe just Facebook. And so it's harder to, like, I know I could tell you if it's a painting, a sculpture, 3D, because I have the list and it'll say what the medium is. But I'm learning more information from the artist's website so I can post specific language to their work, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, isn't the language what gets picked up? How you find things?
I think so, and that's why I think that's
Yeah.
important. So, if work is, say, abstract or figurative, or um, like if it's photography, I mean, there's one guy that photographs fireflies with no flash involved, right? I wouldn't know that. So I try to get that kind of information from the artist website.
Yeah, I
And
know that guy.
oh, and
Yeah.
and most have it available, but it's like if you only have an Instagram account, often there's, I mean, I could scroll through and maybe find something, but often there isn't the language, so just
Alison, and that's
interesting.
Radim, the Firefly
Radim
guy.
Schreiber.
He did a documentary in Netflix also.
He did a commentary where?
And Netflix, it's a documentary that they use in
Oh,
Netflix also.
oh,
He's
cool.
a really nice guy.
Yeah. Well,
He's
I
married to a
wouldn't know,
Mexican woman also.
but I wouldn't know if there's no flash or not. How would I know that?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
I would assume you can't photograph fireflies with a flash.
the thing is, you're a photographer and I'm not. But
I've been
so
called
so
worse.
Why does it matter?
well, we're talking about Instagram posting. And so, like I said, no flash photography was one of my hashtags.
Oh,
I would have
And
used without flash photography.
okay. So anyway, there was that hashtag that existed. So, you know, anyway, I try to look for things that identify or single out that artist and in their work. You know, I mean, you know, you could have like 25 painters, but all the work is different. But it's not just different via oil or watercolor. There's other differences too, and those are the nuances that I try to learn from the artist website and the about page, because I'm not a painter. I mean, I know some, but those are the details I'm looking for, so I can have more specific individualized hashtags. That's my story.
Okay. Hey, I want to hear about Ann Arbor.
Mary, you go.
I'm more tired today than I was yesterday.
Oh, come on. You was goofing around waiting for FedEx all day long.
I was, but they actually came. You were there, Oscar. Wasn't I talking to you? I'm talking to somebody on the phone, and
Yeah, that was me.
and it's great. I charged it up. I can't wait to use it. Price was
So
right.
tell me about Ann Arbor.
First 2 days were slow. The last day was pretty good, but you know, I did the Ann Arbor Art Fair when it was really good, so um, it's not the same. But Ann Arbor, you got to understand Ann Arbor. It's all hype. So you know, like they're saying, I heard the best crowd ever, biggest crowd. No, not even close. Biggest crowd for years. It would be like you couldn't walk, you couldn't get anywhere because of the sea of people went from booth on one side to booth on the other side, all the way down the street. That was when it was crowded.
Yeah.
Also, there was some hype about, oh, this is the #2 show in the country. Maybe 52. You know, well, it's not that bad. I'd say 20, you know, 20th or whatever, but it isn't in the top 5 or 10. Okay, it might be 10, you know. Hey,
And
No,
that can vary, for everyone, really.
that's right. Because I heard, like, you know, Oscar and I are down on Main Street, which has its own weirdness.
You mean
Because
Fort Worth? Fort Worth, you mean?
No,
No.
Main Street at Ann Arbor.
Main Street
Oh,
in
I
Ann
see.
Arbor,
My mistake. Okay.
it's this monstrosity that's spread out through the whole town, because really it's always been about the merchants selling their stuff, and their stuff that they can't sell anywhere, their sales stuff.
Mhm.
So and they have artists come in because to attract people, and then they really control they control the days it is, they control the hours, they pretty much control the working of it.
Which
Uh,
is why you don't do it on a Sunday, which is so weird.
well, I think they try. I stopped. I have a love-hate relationship with it, so I've stopped doing it. For a couple of years, and then I went back. And I think that I don't remember. I heard that it was on Sunday, and I actually looked it up, and there were some years that it was on Sunday.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know. I told you that. You didn't.
yeah. No, I went. Yeah,
He
I
didn't
know,
believe
but I
us,
went and
Barry.
looked, Larry. So
Right.
you were right. But but you know, when it's 3 days and it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, most people can come on Saturday. A lot of people can't come on Thursday and Friday. So if it's 4 days, it's okay to have those days. Um, but when it's 3 days, I think they should have it. But it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what Oscar says. It doesn't matter what kind of input we give them. It's not going to change because it's not up to us.
Do you think that the hours are worthwhile? Those are very long hours.
I have a lot of
You know,
repeat business.
I'm going to tell you, um, Thursday, most of my business happened between 6 and 8
In the evening,
in
obviously.
the
Yeah.
evening. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Okay.
mine
Uh,
happened in the morning, every day, those 2 days.
Oh,
And Saturday it was slow after 6 o'clock. My problem with the hours, I'm not going to find the hours because it's what Barry says. It's whatever the commerce or chamber decide to do is what's going to happen.
sure.
Mhm.
What they need to give us is it's a list of places that are open past 10 o'clock so we can go and eat. We know imposing our president to the people.
Why don't you make that suggestion to the guild?
I'm going to trust me.
They'll do it.
Oh, yeah, really? No, that suggestion's been made for the last 25 years. No, you have to go into it knowing that nothing you say, nothing you do is going to have any control. Now, having said that, the setup was so much easier than before. Setup and takedown because um before it would be like they would micromanage it, and I hate being told to move my van when they don't understand what I'm doing or stop you from getting in at night to pack up, and they were actually, the help was actually helpful. They were there for us throughout the whole thing, and that was great. There's some little things that got changed that I think made it much less stressful, and at least for me, and I appreciated that. So it's been good. Plus, Bonnie showed up, and that was fun.
That is nice.
And I like her neighbors. I mean, I like people on the street and everything.
Oscar, don't you have a cooler? You could like buy a salad or something at Whole Foods and
But I used it. I took the refrigerator out of the van, plug it into the wall, and I keep it all weekend long in there. But uh, you know, I wanted what, and I did have meals, like I make sandwiches and I have cold drinks all weekend long. So it worked out really well. But once in a while, I still wanted to have like a hot meal.
Yeah.
right.
So,
You know,
but
Yeah,
I
my,
Oscar,
usually both times what's a sandwich. What's a
you
sandwich?
didn't really use this, Oscar, but
What?
you didn't really use this, but I sent one of the volunteers to go get me a burger and fries, and they willingly did it. The kids they used this time were great. It was so different. They were so helpful, and they would do anything you asked, and I loved it.
They came and stayed with my booth while I was going to get the food myself. So because I didn't know what I wanted to eat every time I went, and I didn't want to eat red meat while I was in the show.
Yeah, but that's
I
what's
just wanted
really
to
good
eat.
about having the internet on your phone, because you can look up any of these restaurants and see their menu.
Okay.
And me,
Can you use
and
DoorDash or something similar?
yeah, you can do that. And meanwhile, we talked about how we wish we had Allison with us, we used her as an example of what you should do, because Allison has mentioned that she's brought all her, she brings her food, all the meals and everything, and
Mhm.
we were talking about that.
And
Yeah, but I brought my meals. I was not willing to share with you, Barry. That's all.
I'm not sharing with you. You kidding? Your diet is so different than mine. What you eat, it's like, oh my God. And
well,
and
mine
Oscar, you'd love it here today because I think it's 60 degrees.
Oh, that
If you
would be
share a room with
perfect.
Oscar, bring all your clothes to wear it when you go to sleep, because he needs to have it really cold.
that's exactly we put air conditioning on and it's like 60 degrees or colder. I don't like sleeping in a warm room.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like I when he
He
was
was
asleep, I kind of
complaining because I had the room at 64 degrees and
yeah,
it
and when he
was
went to
too
sleep, I moved it to
cold.
68. The first night I moved it, I put it up to 68 when he was asleep. But after that, I sort of
And it
left it
was
at 65. It wasn't. I got
yeah.
used to it.
Next day I was complaining it was too warm. I couldn't sleep well, and then somebody was keeping me awake all night long.
Oh, good.
I'm even going to tell you, I think that I would be better off sleeping next to a locomotive running all night long than be sleeping next to Barry. That's how bad it was.
Oh well, I'll try and fix that.
Next time I bring earplugs.
I travel with earplugs and then an eye mask in case it's too bright.
Mm-hmm.
Highly recommend.
Oh,
I have some UV goggles that blocks out the UV light.
Yeah, you
Oh.
also have 3D goggles.
no, but the show overall for me was really it was weird. It was good on the first day, and then the last day, the second day was like, what the hell I'm doing here? And because traditionally Ann Arbor's been like a really good on the Thursday and Friday, and then Saturday is really bad for me. And this year was Saturday was the best day.
Yeah.
But it's been a weird year all the way around. I don't think that nothing is making any sense what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot, you know, if you thought that before was complicated, now it's even more complicated. And but I I still think that they can do better with the layout of the show overall. But I don't know if they're going to make it that happen. And I really think that that's one of the shows that if you have a double booth, it works better for you for 2D because you get lost in the crowd. It's really, and you have to go with idea that you have to, every time somebody walks into your booth, you have to close the deal at that point because it's really rare that they come back.
Oh, because it's such a huge show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 3 shows.
Right.
It's 3
It isn't
shows.
just one show.
And it doesn't count the, what is that, Liberty Street full of,
Liberty Street was full of nonprofits and political things and any kind of rant and rave you could have. I mean, there were more. Usually, it used to be they were on in the diag by the arch, if you know what that is, and it wasn't a whole lot. It was just enough. This time, I don't know whether it became like this because I actually don't go down there. But we were going to lunch. We were going to dinner and at a place, and so we had to walk past all this stuff. It's just inundated with everybody's cause, and I didn't want to see that. What it's done is, to me, it acts like a barrier between the original show and the guild show.
But they're allowed to be there. Every show I've done this year, I've seen people collecting signatures for RFK. And
we didn't have any of that.
And they're allowed to be there.
Yeah, they're allowed to be there, but saying that you can change the location. They were just imagine like having a big H and the line that connect the two stray eyes is all political stuff. So you go one side of the street, you see that you might want to go through that to get to the other side of the show.
Like
that's what it looks like.
It wasn't just politics; it was healthcare. It was all whatever nonprofit you can think of. They had a booth there.
Well, yeah, they've always had that.
Yeah, not to this extent.
Yeah, but it's the location. I think that they will talk to the guild and put it by East University and going that way, all those people and move the other artists and
I
make the
don't
show
think
more
it has
connected would be
anything
better.
to do with the guild.
No, I know, but the guild can ask to see if they can move it to that section.
It only does in this sense that all the show directors have to agree with whatever the business community wants. If they want that stuff there, then it's going to be there. It doesn't matter. I don't think the shows have much power. Well, they have some power, but not a whole lot of power.
Well, if
it's
it's
totally different.
if it's political, they cannot ask them to leave. It's their First Amendment right, no matter.
No. These are paid for booths. Like,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, they used to be art artists. And then as that section, the State Street section got worse and worse, that was replaced by buy sell. And I don't know, at some point it morphed into nonprofit booths, 10 by 10 nonprofit booths. And
Mhm.
like, I don't know, 50 of them, pick a number, 100. I mean, there are a lot of anybody with a cause could set up a booth over there if they paid. I'm pretty sure they paid their money. And they put it there just to fill it in because nobody's doing the State Street show anymore. Unless they were on North University, which is kind of a short street, which was always the best part of the State Street show.
I could just say that I make a comment about, I told you this, that Stage 3 is the lower end of the three shows, and people came back to me saying that the I need to be careful when I word that side because there was good artists in Stage 3, and like I said, it's the lowest end of the three shows. Doesn't mean this bad artists. I'm
Okay.
just saying that.
You also have to be careful how you state it because there's State Street, the actual street where which is part of the Guild show. It's been there as long as Main Street. And the people I know people there that
the
have been there
Stage
for
3
35
show.
years. State Street show is not on State Street.
I know, but I said that Stage 3 show. We were talking about Stage 3 show. So
Yeah, I was just reinforcing that.
yeah, it's just that it's just getting like I don't want to even say anything in Facebook anymore to anybody.
Sounds like a lot of shows at once.
It's three shows. It's almost 1,000 artists between all three shows.
That's
It's
so.
actually at one time it was 1,400.
So what do you think of this? So at Cherry Creek, I met several artists who, a local gallery was having a thing right outside of their gallery on the sidewalk, and it was in proximity to the show, and they certainly can do that. But several artists that I knew or met, who said hello to me, were doing an event right there, and in conjunction with the show. I don't think the gallery has ever done it in previous years. So,
well, I think all the businesses should take advantage, like Ann Arbor, all the businesses should take advantage of the crowds by either having sales or whatever.
or setting up outside, you mean, and with artist booths and.
I ran a store on South University when that was where the main show was, and we did great. We put stuff outside. It depends on how much it encroached the show. Like they can
Right.
do something because they're on the sidewalk and it doesn't encroach on the booths. So I don't know, what how it worked out where you were. There would be a
Well,
time when it would be a setup where that would be intrusive. So I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Well, I didn't even know it was happening because I couldn't get out of my booth anyway. So
Yeah. As far as if they felt like they were losing business because it was there, well, I don't
no,
know.
I think they were gaining business. I mean, remember the show itself does paid advertising to bring people to the event. So the other businesses just benefit from it.
I know
which is okay. Nothing wrong with that.
I think it's good. It's a plus. Hey, Court,
Yeah,
in tomorrow's Zoom meeting that you're doing, the subject matter, can any of us, if we got on, could we talk?
No,
nope,
say no.
nope.
Sorry.
Because art fair etiquette is a big thing with me.
But you could email them your thoughts and then they can discuss them. Sorry,
I'll
Court,
tell
I
what
don't
to-
mean to answer for you.
I will tell you what to do. Hang on just a second. I'm in the middle of doing something. Bonnie is handling tomorrow night's presentation, and she's given me the outline I'm getting ready to put together. You can get a hold of her if you have something you would like her to discuss. So that's what I can tell you. I know that I've seen her. I'm actually doing the presentation for her, or building the presentation for her, and I've seen what she has. And it is hang on a second. It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah. Because things like putting your bins or putting stuff out beyond your 10-foot space and
On
you
there,
know, huh?
it's on there.
Stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep, it's on there.
Yeah.
I've got I just happen to have that pulled up right now. Yes, Gray Cat.
Hey, the worst people aren't the beginners. It's
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Let's see. Read show materials, dress appropriately, test run, setting your booth up, weights, checklist, packing list,
Weights. Yeah.
weather app, setup day, follow show instructions, move your vehicle after unloading, introduce yourself to your neighbors, make sure you got your sign hung up, don't display previous show awards or ribbons.
that's I have to laugh about that one because I have seen that on occasion. That's so tacky.
Stay within your booth space.
Be aware of when you're taking your stuff out of your vehicle that you're not spread out into somebody else's space. Make sure
Yep.
it's that kind of thing.
Um,
Don't leave your vehicle there and then go eat lunch and then come back and then move it away. I mean, all these little things.
No music, no candles, no smoking in or around your booth or your neighbor's booth.
Yeah.
Be prepared for weather. If you're talking to another artist and somebody walks in, leave. Be nice to your neighbors. Don't bring your vehicle in until you've taken your booth down. Pick up all the trash. Yeah, just that is
Out of
just
cur
the top stuff.
out of curiosity, what is involved with dress appropriately?
Wear
Bonnie's
clothes.
Bonnie's comment. Let me get to it.
Mhm.
Don't look like you slept in your clothes.
We talked about this last time in our last Zoom. Plan your professional wardrobe, dress like you can afford your own work.
Mm-hmm.
And we also talked about making sure you dressed appropriately for the weather. Dressing appropriately covers two things: the way you look and being appropriate for the weather.
I still don't get the part of the dress like you kind of for your work and
Carry a can of deodorant for your neighbor.
that's the
So
one that I don't get.
does that mean I can't wear an F dump t-shirt?
Sure you can.
But it has to be on a red hat.
Wait a minute. Does it say you can't wear it if it says F dump? It has to say fuck dump. You can't just put the F on it. Well, you
Well,
could.
I was carrying out FCC rules on this Zoom, so you know.
I don't think, does that apply? I don't think that applies.
It doesn't, but I think that
Oh,
way. So anyway.
Okay, there's
By the
one
way, this is
rule.
being recorded, so.
There's one rule that fortunately a lot of shows don't adapt because everybody's takedown is different. And that one is I don't know when they came up with take everything down first before you pull in your van. Because no,
Then it's
Why?
double work.
it's double work. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense.
I don't get that at
Yes,
all.
it,
To
make,
me,
it makes perfect sense, Barry, because if you look at most shows, there is not an unlimited amount of space. I mean, how long is your van?
I get that. But I can
Okay.
tell you what I do. I wait till people leave and then I can pull right in. And because I don't want to take my wood panels off and put them on the ground. I want to take them off and put them in the van. And so I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to sacrifice my time. And I pull in the people like I did at Ann Arbor, like I always do, and I pull in out of the way, you know, I pull
Well,
into where booths were, but I'm there with my van and I just load in and it works.
well, I break down
Yeah,
everything
most
so it's
people
in a
don't do that,
pile.
Gary.
I break
People
down everything so it's in a pile. But
Well, you know what? For the first 30 years of doing shows, that wasn't a rule. That's only a recent rule.
well,
in
I've been
And you
doing
know
addition,
shows
what?
for
Nobody, it
25
worked
years. And
before. You know what? Artists take care of it. They move for other people. They're conscious of yes.
Nope. Nope.
Well,
no,
okay,
Nope.
let me rephrase that, Court. The newer artists, the new, people are more selfish, much
Nope.
like
no,
presidents.
okay,
Nope.
that's just not fair to newer artists at all.
Nope.
Well,
I've seen some established, experienced artists be assholes at teardown and get in your way. Sorry, I got the spot first. Yeah, no.
So I've almost gotten into a fight with people like that. So because I
Well,
tell them right away to get it out of, go, to get it out of the way. So,
well, I'll tell
you
you
know,
something. One of the people at Cherry Creek, they saw our setup and they said, instead of driving into the show, what if you could park like right over? It was half a block away, and for us, we could haul out, and and then it's one less car, and I'm glad they pointed it out because then we didn't have to wait until whatever time. We could just load out as soon as we were packed up, and that was a very nice option for people who can do that. So that there's some of us who can haul. It keeps the road clear for other people. So I mean, yeah,
Let
in
somebody
general.
else get yelled at.
What?
When you dolly your stuff out, somebody else can pull in and get yelled at.
I guess so, but also, I mean, for me, the benefit is I don't have to wait until I'm allowed to pull my car in. I could just get the hell out of there, which is
Right.
really nice.
That's what I always did.
But not everyone can do that, but it is a nice option. Like if you don't have to
yeah,
drive, if you don't have to pull in,
I
certain
dolly it.
shows. Pardon?
I dolly when I can.
Mhm. And then it relieves the the stress of more cars coming in.
Hmm.
Yeah. Hey, I got a
I
quick
just
question.
know,
Does anybody use a Ring doorbell?
I do.
Which one do you have?
I really don't remember, but let me see. Because I don't
I'll
have it.
I'll give you a call later.
Okay.
Hey, Larry,
Yeah.
I came up with an idea because I was doing some of these lesser shows, and I actually talked to the director, and they thought it was a good idea that when we're going to do a online jury evaluation, that
Right,
I get a hold of some directors, and they can encourage their lesser artists to come to the Zoom, and we can
right,
analyze their setup,
right.
because I've seen some
Sharon McAllister's been doing that for a couple of years, but she hasn't been able to get anybody to participate.
No, you have to be bottom feeding, and I only use that as an expression. It's not a value judgment, Allison.
All right,
Before you jump on me for saying that,
because they're not lesser.
I know I'm just describing shows that have lower quality work than the top shows. That's all I'm saying. Which is, buy, sell. I mean, tables, plenty of tables with tablecloths over them, and well, whatever. They really liked what I said, that I suggested that. So when we're going to do one, I'll get a hold of a couple of these directors. So maybe we will have more people.
Dawn,
Go
you don't
ahead.
have to be that
Dawn.
polite.
Dawn, go ahead.
I
You're
don't have to just jump in and ask a question.
sure.
Absolutely.
You could do that without asking permission.
I had a question about photos. So if I have a couple of different variety of items, they're the same item, but some are stand up, some hang from the ceiling, some hang from the wall. When I send in the photos, do I send in a photo of each one, or do I send in the photos of the best, even though it may duplicate the
You don't
Yeah.
want to duplicate the piece.
well, not duplicate the piece, but like if I have two stand-ups as opposed to a variety one of each of the kind.
Look and create a balanced presentation. So
So based,
if
go
they're
ahead,
asking
sorry.
for 3 images, you could do 2 on either side with the other one in the middle.
You know,
No, I'm
that's
saying I do a variety, like
No, I
have,
know what you're saying,
okay.
but you could
know-
do two hanging with a stand, one in a stand.
Oh, in the middle, and as I
Oh,
send in
hold
the
on.
picture.
Hey, Larry,
Yeah,
that's open to your interpretation of what you think is the best. Now, if you're asking this, you could sign up for Larry's jury evaluation,
she's
and
done it.
I have, and you like slammed me, Barry, by the way, but that's another thing.
I didn't slam you. I didn't slam you. I just
Yeah, she
didn't beat
did,
around the
Barry.
bush, and I told you what you needed to do. It wasn't personal.
I'm still licking my wounds, Barry.
I don't think so.
Barry has no idea how he comes across. He thinks he's a pussycat, and other people think he's a tiger.
I'm
Exactly.
not a tiger. God,
All right,
that's-
so wait, if I could speak. So if your images, some stand, some hang, or there's all these variations, and but it's the same exact piece, it would be better to have the variations with different pieces.
Right,
One
well,
of
that's what I said. You don't duplicate the pieces.
Yes.
Well, I'm saying one of each variety is what is my debate. So like,
If you show them in the booth shot,
yes. So I
then
have like
people-
in the booth shot, I'll have the ones hanging on the wall, in the back, the ones hanging on the ceiling, and then on here is the one on the stand. Do I have to send a picture of each separate one of those? Is that a better application?
I think it's good to have a variety, even if it's not all of them. And for example, I'm a jeweler, right? So there's a lot of shows I apply to, you need either 4 or 5 images. So I will often show 2 necklaces, 2 earrings, and maybe a brooch or a ring, even though I make bracelets and, so I try to pick
Yeah.
a balance while showing the variation, but sometimes it's impossible to show every type of piece, whether it's hanging or freestanding or sitting on a table or whatever the case may be. Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Barry.
So in other words, you don't have to show every single nuance, but it's good to show a variety.
Well, I also use a variety of techniques. So
Okay, wait.
What I do is I have 2 vessels. one teapot, and one vase form. So,
But they all look like they came from the same person.
Yes.
yeah, the style you want to capture the style, your style. So, meanwhile, Dawn, you didn't say anything about Ann Arbor, and you did Ann Arbor. We want to know what happened, because you were on the other side. You didn't
No,
do
I
Ann
didn't
Arbor?
do
Finish
Ann
this. Let's first finish this question.
I didn't
though.
do Ann Arbor. I don't leave the state of Florida.
Oh, okay. I have you mixed up with somebody else. Sorry.
But
Dawn,
Dawn,
I'm gonna give you a different piece of advice.
Okay.
Pick your strongest pieces that have the most quick impact. And then worry about well,
presentation.
is it one of the ceiling mounted pieces or wall or stand or whatever? That's kind of secondary. But you want to pick the best pieces.
Okay.
And the other thing is keep track, like a spreadsheet, of which images you use for which applications and see what works and what doesn't work.
You can look at that in Zoom.
Yeah, or on Zap.
Zap, yeah.
I'm sorry, not Zoom, Zap.
Yeah, you
Zap
meant
tracks
Zap.
all that.
I put everything in archives, so you could go back, you could look at a lot of different choices.
Well,
Yeah.
I've done that, but I've also got new pieces coming in, so it's hard to. I mean, I think I've got the drama, so I went for the drama for my picture.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if will they say something if I don't have the less dramatic? So I got the dramatic ones that catches your attention, and then I got the ones that I sell and make money that are not as dramatic, but those are the ones that just sell.
I would
Are
go
they
for the
the same
dramatic one.
style? Do they look like they were made by the same artist?
It's all the same thing. They're all jellyfish.
Then you're good.
They all look like this, but some I've got like gold, which is more dramatic. Some that are gemstones, again more dramatic. These were what sell. They're glazed and sea glass. So
You know what matters is you're trying to impress the judges. I wouldn't say, well, I got to put this in because this is what sells, or I can't put this in because this is what sells. Just put your best pieces in.
okay,
And also play with the images, because maybe one should be where three should be where one is, so you have to, and then you have to determine that based on your experience.
right. What Larry said about
Mhm.
mix them up so you get a better presentation.
And I wouldn't necessarily, when I say bold and eye-catching, I wouldn't necessarily design specific pieces for that. But when you're looking at your work, you're going to have pieces that have more subtle details, more subtle colors. Some have brighter colors. You want to go to the brighter color side, things that are a little more eye-catching.
Right. I got one that's gold. It's actually real gold metal. So that's going to be in the Larry fixed my photo for me.
And
So
you
that
also use that in your artist statement.
the gold.
Well, the fact that that's one of the materials you use.
Oh, yes. Right.
Court, if you have an education, what goes to art ceramic school, art school for ceramics, and the philosophy is basically the Asian philosophy, which is subtlety. It's about subtlety and making it look easy, which is just the opposite of what almost what you need for eye catching to get
wow the
judges to
jurors.
let you in.
Yeah.
And I have a
Right.
problem with that.
Yeah.
Because what I think my best pieces are and what gets judged in a lot of times is not the same thing.
Right. Two of my best photos I used to use as jury images, and I couldn't get in. As soon as I swapped them out, with some, and they both have very, very subtle detail. Once I swapped them out for something that was a lot bolder, my acceptance rate went way up immediately.
Yeah, Court, you're gonna need some new political signs in your pictures. Now that Biden
Yeah.
dropped out.
Well,
Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
if we're going to talk a little politics, and I don't suggest that we talk a lot of politics, but the energy level within 24 hours went way up
Yeah,
That's true.
on the
Very true.
Democratic side. It's
her speech
noticeably
today was,
different.
her speech today was great.
Her speech yesterday was great.
Well, maybe it was yesterday's that they reran.
Okay.
Could be.
Hey, while we have a short 30-second break, Barry, I have tickets to see John Sebastian.
Cool. Hey, what a day for a daydream.
Yeah,
Hot town, summer in the city.
Lovin' Spoonful.
Yeah.
Oh,
don't
you
remember.
boomers.
I don't remember the ones when he was a solo act, but I did see him. I saw him.
How old is he? 80?
Probably close.
Hmm.
Although,
I saw a picture of him lately. He still looks good.
yeah, I mean, there's advertisements on Facebook. That's how I came across it. And he's going to be in a winery. It only costs 20. It's costing me $100, and I'm sitting right in front of the stage, which is great for acoustic music.
Yeah.
Okay, break's over.
Are you guys Democrats?
What?
Probably.
Yes.
I was gonna get my
Just as a very broad generalization, you will tend to find the majority of artists tend to be more on the liberal side than the conservative side.
And if you were doing shows 30 years ago, when Bill Clinton was in office, the sales went through the roof.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute. Bill Clinton was in office 30 years ago?
Yeah.
That's shocking to hear.
Let me
30
see,
years
that's
ago?
true.
Really?
1990 or 92?
You know,
92 was 32 years ago.
Oh my
I
God.
was doing the the ACC and Wendy Rosen shows then, and he came to Baltimore during the ACC show, and then the next week, during the week, he came to Philadelphia, and it was funny. It was a little hard to get around because of the security and stuff, but it was cool. I did see him in Philadelphia, but I didn't see him in Baltimore. He was in the hotel. So that was cool.
He's been out of office now. It's going to be almost 24 years.
Ooh.
Ugh,
Clinton.
yikes.
Well,
would-
Al
From
Gore lost.
Bush.
Al Gore lost in 2000 after the 2 Clinton terms.
He didn't lose. He was appointed by the judges.
Right.
But yeah.
It
I
was
went
a
to-
tie in electoral votes. A little bit of different weather would have changed the total popular count. And the Florida Supreme Court tried to steal the election for him, actually, and the Supreme Court prevented that.
Hey, it's
Well,
all
it
about the
would have been-
Chads.
It would have been better if when Clinton was impeached, he just resigned and then Al Gore took place. And then the trajectory would have been
Yeah, but
completely
that's
different.
bullshit.
Absolutely.
But Clinton
it's
was the
absolutely
smartest
true.
person in the room.
Right.
So
His
He's
policies, though,
Just
were
blame it
pretty
on
conservative.
just blame it on the hanging chads.
Yes, well,
I went to the post office today to drop off something. It was a post office store, and there was a girl in there watching Sanford and Son.
wow.
yeah, you can
Red-
watch it. It's you can see it on television.
Red Fox.
Yeah, exactly. And it was off the air before she was born. It had to be. She wasn't that old.
You
And
can
she's, like,
watch The
watching it.
Rifleman. There's a lot of shows.
Yeah, every afternoon at 3 o'clock.
What's wild
What
about
else?
those what's wild about those older shows is the I mean, just the language was different, the way we refer to things. I mean, and some some of the shows like in the 70s were much more risque than would even be allowed now.
I know.
You know, like Maude or All in the Family or
Archie Bunker couldn't get a show today.
right.
Well, yeah, they threw Roseanne off for that attitude.
Well, but that wasn't because what she said on the air in the show, it was what she said off the air.
Right.
Yeah, I have noticed that about shows like generally you'd think it would be more permissive as we got old, as the years went by, and it's almost prudish now.
Yeah. Oh, what is it? Oh, the pre-code films are, like from the 20s and the 30s
Yeah,
are,
and 40s.
really, really, raunchy.
The 40s, the code was in place, Barry.
I hardly
post-World
think
War,
that
did the code come in after World War II?
No, the code came in the 30s.
Okay.
30s, yeah.
And
But I hardly
early
think that they
talkies,
were
actually.
raunchy.
I mean, they were very good at being risque discreetly.
Yes, that's true. You're right.
That was a fashion
suggestiveness was an
statement.
art form in the
Yeah,
30s
exactly.
and 40s.
The woman would take off her dress, but she had 3 more underneath it.
Well, the first film that showed a bathroom was Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds, as far as I know. And there's a scene
No,
with the drain going down, but they didn't show toilets.
No, that's
before.
Psycho.
Yeah,
Psycho. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Anthony Perkins. And what was her name?
Janet Leigh.
Oh,
Was it Janet Leigh?
Janet Leigh
Was
and
Janet Leigh.
Anthony Perkins.
yeah.
wait, what? Psycho. Oh yeah, I keep thinking of The Birds. That was Tippi Hedren.
Yes.
Right.
That came a year or two later.
Okay.
And what year
I saw all those movies in the theater.
what year was the Star Trek episode where they had the first interracial kiss on television?
Yeah. When
Oh,
was
right.
that? I remember that.
That
Late
and Mr.
60s.
Rogers. That and Mr. Rogers, by the way. He
Yep.
dunked his feet in like an outside little pool with the mailman, and that was interracial. And that was like, also breaking ground.
That was in protest to another thing that happened where they asked the black people to get out of the pool.
Yes.
Ah.
Oh, there's a lot of obnoxious things in this country that wasn't that too far long ago.
Mary Tyler Moore, the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Right.
I think she was the first woman on
beds.
Yes, exactly.
Lucille Ball too.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she got pregnant.
Oh, right. They had separate beds.
Yeah, well, so did Ozzie and Harriet had separate beds, and so did
They all did back then.
Yeah, Leave It to Beaver. They all had separate. That was in the 50s. They all had separate beds.
They had a census rule where you could sit on the bed together, but you had to have at least something like one or two, both feet on the floor.
Wasn't that my dorm room?
No.
No, I'm serious. When I went to college, if you had a female guest in your room, you had to have the door open and at least 1 foot on the ground. Now they live together in the same, same dorm. And girls had a curfew. Remember that?
Wow.
Is anybody
Really?
old enough to remember that?
No.
Cal State didn't have dorms, so didn't have to worry.
Yeah, I'm not old too, Barry.
Oh well. I don't know how
One
long it
thing
lasted.
A lot is that nobody smokes anymore. Whereas
God.
the older films, like
Oh,
everybody
that, yeah.
Yeah, now
That's
they have a
true.
parental warning if there's smoking in the film.
Oh, do they? Huh.
Yes,
or
it's
cursing,
the parental advisory smoking.
or cursing.
I like the way they
No,
dressed.
no
when they went
advisory
to the
about
nightclub.
violence, but it's parental advisory about smoking.
Well, you
That's
know,
right.
the morals are in the right place because swearing is much more than violence. Yeah. Anyway, I'm being,
not swearing,
They
smoking.
do have parental advisories about swearing too.
Yeah, but I liked it when they went to the nightclubs, they wore tuxedos and the women wear gowns.
I still do that.
Where?
Here in Florida,
Maybe Miami.
I go out in gowns.
Really?
No, I'm kidding, but I have, yes.
There was a steampunk group here that got all dressed up, and I don't know exactly where they went, but it was in a mall, and when they got to the mall, the security guard flagged them down and wouldn't let them in
because they were dressed up.
because they were dressed weird, as far as he was concerned.
Hey.
Edward,
I mean, that's
Victorian
It,
fashion.
it was probably the wedding party.
No, they're a club. The women were all in Edwardian or Victorian style gowns. The men were dressed up in the three-piece Edwardian suits, top
right.
hat.
Well, that's a
Thing?
costume.
No, these were actually real clothing that, they
Right.
made.
Oh,
They
I'm
probably made their, yeah, I know someone who does that actually. It's incredible work
Yeah,
to make those pieces.
but
I
the
mean, why they
security
wouldn't be
guard-
allowed in is ridiculous, but
security guard thought they looked weird.
they looked weird.
Yeah.
You
What a
want people
society.
that dress weird, come to Ann Arbor.
I was in one of the most famous barbecue restaurants in Kansas City, and this place always busy, and there's always a long line, and you never know who you're going to see in line. And I was in line, and a couple people in front of me was your typical wino. He's got the 40 ouncer in the paper bag.
Really?
There were a couple people in front of him, and then there were two couples. The ladies were in formal wear, and the men were in very nice suits.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You know,
And were they served?
Yeah, in the same line to go into this restaurant. You go
Right.
in, you go up to the counter, tell them what you want, to put your food on a plate or wrap it up to go. And everybody was in the same line waiting.
What about the guy
Love
with the
that.
open carry in the bag? Or open wine, the
That
wine.
in that part of Kansas City, that was normal.
Which
Is
place is that?
Okay.
Which place is
Okay.
that, Court?
Arthur Bryant's.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It is barbecue in Kansas City was started by one man.
Arthur
And-
Bryant?
No, he had three apprentices. One was Arthur Bryant, another was Ollie Gates. And the third gentleman didn't end up going anywhere, but those two gentlemen spun off, and Bryant's has always just had the one place. Gates open up into a local chain. And when we lived in Kansas City in the early 70s, it was fun because you'd go into Gates and there would be the token white person cleaning tables. And all the rest of the people would be African American. And you'd walk in, and before you could say anything, as soon as they saw you walk up to the counter, they'd yell, "Hi, may I help you?"
Mm-hmm.
And so it got to be such a big thing over the counter. They then put up a sign that said, "Hi, may I help you?" Help with no
Right, right. That's cute.
But that got to be their slogan.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Hit me.
And they even got to the point where in one of their restaurants, they put up a training, or next to one of the restaurants, they put up a building for offices and some training, and they called it Rib Tech.
Uh,
But if you look at, if you ever go into Arthur Bryant's, look at the walls, and there's photos on the walls of presidents, celebrities. You know, that used to be the place to go in Kansas City for barbecue.
uh-huh.
Well, we have one down by, well, where Comic-Con is being held, that was featured in, Top Gun. And they have that plastered all over it. I think it says something about Kansas City, but, has winged pigs as their decor.
And I didn't realize until I moved away from Kansas City that for pork ribs, there are actually different cuts, different styles of pork ribs.
Oh, yeah.
And that Kansas City serves one cut of pork ribs, and most places serve what's called the St. Louis cut.
And
Yeah.
that Omaha.
Well, burnt ends, that's something I learned about I had never heard of from Kansas City.
I believe burnt ends originated at Arthur Bryant's.
Okay.
And there's short ends and long
No.
ends.
Burnt ends
And
are
bones.
originally, if you look at a brisket, it's kind of pointed.
Yeah.
And there was one of those points that when they smoked it always got cooked more and almost burnt, and they would cut it off. They wouldn't serve it. And somebody decided to put them on a tray and stick them on the counter. And people loved them. And that's how burnt ends started.
Uh-huh.
I like a dry
That was
rub.
my favorite cut when I was in Kansas.
What's that? The burnt ends?
Yeah. Yeah, those
They
were
have
great.
it at Costco. You can get it in the refrigerated,
Yeah, now what they do is they just take chuck roast or something like that, or brisket, and chop it up into cubes and cook it a long time, and that's what they call burnt ends. But the original burnt ends were the tip of the piece of the brisket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want some right now.
And
I like
So
a
long,
dry
guys.
rub.
See y'all next week.
all right, bye,
Bye,
Frank.
Frank.
Oh, my goodness.
The
I'm
ribs
doing
that
whitefish tonight.
the ribs that restaurants in Kansas City sell have a lot more meat on them. The St. Louis style ribs are trimmed down.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like St. Louis style myself.
I'm a East North Carolina girl.
So how
You're
does
probably getting, you're probably serving getting the St. Louis style ribs.
Mhm.
See, in Kansas City they serve short ends and long ends, and they cut the ribs in half.
Mhm.
You know your cuts.
That's how I like it. I like the short ends of the.
But we moved to Wichita and I tried to get short ends, and they looked at me like I was crazy. And down here, when you buy ribs, they cut them up individually. They don't serve a slab of ribs.
Oh yeah, so you're buying individual ribs.
Yeah,
Where do you live?
Wichita, Kansas.
In individual ribs?
Yeah, they some restaurants sell individual ribs. In Kansas City, you'd go in and you'd either buy a slab or a short end or a long end.
Oh, I'm thinking at the grocery store. You
Yeah,
get,
a slab or a half slab.
at the
then
grocery
you
store,
pick
you get a
which one.
slab of ribs, right? Just
Yeah.
at the restaurant. Okay.
Yep. So
So
even when you
Court,
go to the grocery store, you have to pay attention because there's different cuts of ribs.
yeah.
And
So
I didn't realize that. I just thought a slab of pork ribs is a slab of pork ribs.
So seriously, what's the difference between steak from Omaha and steak from Kansas City?
well, what they eat, right?
It's,
I mean,
Steak.
versus steak from
Oh.
Colorado. I mean, there's a different
no, I mean,
flora and
Omaha is famous for that, just like Kansas is.
It's the reason they're famous because they both had big
branding.
stockyards.
Right. Because every time we went out to Omaha, we would go out for steak dinners.
Yeah, same in Kansas. Kansas City also has good steaks, but it's mostly known for barbecue.
I like my pork pulled.
So Court,
So,
can you eat a whole slab?
No.
so I just want to tell you the plight of the jeweler these days. The materials, the gold is so high that, I mean, I'm, scraping the bottom of the barrel. I mean, I always melt down gold and reuse it, but instead of ordering more tubing, because you can buy, you could buy tubing, right? And it saves a lot of time, but there's minimums also. And I just need a little, just so I could finish some pieces before I leave town. And so instead, I'm going to melt down my scrap and, have a whole thing of, there's dust in here and some pieces. I'm going to melt it down, roll it out, and just make my own, because it's just, I mean, it just keeps going up. It goes down, it goes up. But it's stayed really high, and it's kind of a drag. I mean, earlier in the year, I ordered a lot. This way I have the freedom to use it as I need it, but now it's kind of bare bones. And it's a little frustrating that it hasn't gone down. But and there's no actual rhyme or reason either. So anyway.
Supply and demand.
No, it's not supply and demand with gold.
Yes.
It's
Well, I mean, politics are one of the reasons gold is up, because gold is what people tend to buy when they believe the economy is going to be unstable.
right,
Or
but it's a
there's
bad
threat.
investment.
Yeah, a threat
It's at
of
2460. And what I mean by supply and demand, it's the futures market on the market. It's not the actual physical gold that
Well,
determines the price.
but it's really kind of stupid, because it's just going to eventually, it'll go back down again. I mean, I guess though there's no rhyme or reason with those tech businesses either, because they're laying people off now. But the point is, it's really kind of a drag because it's one of my mediums. And
yeah, but it will go down. And the
right.
problem that I'm facing, and probably Oscar's facing, is in the last couple of years, a lot of our materials have literally doubled in cost.
Mine
Frame,
have.
glass, mat board.
Mm-hmm.
Mine have.
And those won't be coming back down.
No, they're not coming down. The funny thing that I was looking last week, and I'm down. I'm going to just tell you $30,000 in sales for the year, but my profit margin is higher than last year on the same token, which doesn't make any sense. But
well,
that's because I'm selling. No, because I'm selling things that are more profitable. I've been selling more prints than metal prints lately. So I'm making less money, but the things that I'm selling are more profitable. So it's finally, and the installations are also up again, higher than last year. So
okay,
it's a weird year.
Allison was saying though about precious metals. I don't use the pure stuff so much for like gold, but I used to buy vermeil. And
Uh-huh.
they changed the definition of that now, and it's actually
Really?
just it's gold plate, and they'll put vermeil in quotes, but it's much thinner than it used to be. And
Oh,
you, some places where it rubs, you can see the silver poking through.
oh
Green.
no, that's not good.
You get, then your skin turns green.
No, it's vermeil is gold over sterling silver. It was a cheaper way to get gold that and still have something that's not going to turn your ears green if they chip or whatever.
Hmm.
But now
You could look.
very thin plating rather than that heavier fill. I forget what the criteria used to be, but
Mhm.
it's just like, you know, gold plate, and now they're selling things called gold wash.
That's a real dread. You could look into bimetal, but I think it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
But
well,
David,
vermeil used to work just fine for me, and they used
right.
to have one, but
Yeah. And maybe different companies do different processes.
well, yeah, but a lot of stuff coming in from China now. I used to get
Oh,
stuff, but it was Hong Kong, and that was before the return to mainland China.
mhm,
It's still British.
So
right.
the only thing I'm going to tell you with materials is I used to buy the mat board wholesale and cut the mats myself, everything. And right now it's cheaper for me to order the mats already cut than buying the sheet wholesale
Right.
and
That's
do the
right.
work myself.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
to me, that is insane.
Where do you buy from?
Plus, you told me matboard.com, which
Right.
is Crescent,
Right, they're
and
Crescent
Crescent
favorites.
charged me more. Yeah, Crescent charged me more money. Me buying the sheet of full sheet than me ordering 25 mats the same amount of mat that I would get out of the mat board. Doesn't
Right.
make any sense in my head.
Well, yeah, but it does because they're using the cutouts that they make for other people. They're
It
not
could be,
making any
but
mat board.
yeah. The only one that comes a little more expensive, which is the one that intrigues me, is the Land by 14, but it's a few pennies.
It's 6 pieces.
But I
in a
don't cut in
sheet.
the mats. So
well,
the metal piece went up in price also again.
well, in any case, so I just buy what I need. I don't, I'm not going to buy in excess. It makes no
No.
sense because, I'm not going to play the market or anything.
The issue is, and this is what was screwing Biden, is during the pandemic, when there was a shortage, all the manufacturers raised their prices. And
Right.
when they saw they could get away with it, they kept them up. Even
Mhm.
though
That's right.
people can't afford their stuff anymore, a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
Well,
there's
going out to eat is so expensive. I mean, even getting from a food truck. I mean, all of that is so much more now.
Hey,
Well,
But
that's because
I get 5 free meals a week.
good for
Meals,
you.
meals on wheels,
Mm-hmm.
delivered right to my door.
How do you have to, how
Good.
old do you have to be?
Well, over 65. But
Or
I think it's
disabled.
also an income thing.
I'm sure it's an income thing, and I'm very glad that exists. And I would hate for something like that to go away.
well, that might happen in Planet 2025.
Yeah. It will 100% go away if that happens.
Yeah, we can
Meanwhile,
I'll kiss my Social Security goodbye,
That's right.
my Medicare goodbye.
Hospice is the most wonderful thing in the world. And it's part of Medicare, and they provide a nurse, a social worker, which helps you deal, through the system, helps guide you through the system. They pay for like a bed and like other types of things, as long as it's not something to extend somebody's life. And my mother was on it for a year, and I was so grateful for it. And there are these things that will all go away if if the if the right wing wins. And I don't know that people understand how it will affect
They don't.
Not
pretty much everyone.
necessarily.
Yeah, I don't
What are
think
you
that's
talking
true.
about?
That it's not true.
What's not true? That
Those-
people don't know it.
Yeah, all those things are not going to go away.
I
I mean,
can't.
they've been threatening it for years, and what happens is, it's very unpopular with people. And let's say if the Republicans do that, they still want to get elected. So there's some
Come on,
resistance
they've
to
already
that.
shot themselves in the foot with abortion.
Yeah.
Right. Like 51% of the population doesn't have the right to bodily autonomy, but don't tell someone to wear a mask. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Okay, how do you
I'm
think
going to
about
tell
this?
you what my sister told me this morning. Those plans like that, 2025, what it scared people and more than anything else is the last time the Republican had a plan like that was in Reagan years. And 60% of what they got planned got accomplished. So there's no way anybody can say that that plan cannot happen.
I agree with
they
you.
decide.
Yep.
Especially
So-
if they suspend our Constitution.
Yeah.
I think it's just scare
Not
tactic.
gonna
I don't know.
happen.
I think it's
crazy.
easy. It's easy if I mean, it's more than scare tactics, because they've already violated the Constitution by putting prayers in public schools. That's completely a violation of First Amendment rights, because not everyone's a Christian. We have freedom
Yeah.
of religion.
Yeah,
Now, but
that's
it can
absurd.
take years, to challenge it. Japanese internment camps were illegal also, and it took like 5 years. So these illegal things happen, but in the meantime, people suffer while it's being sorted out. And so as far as rounding certain people up, that can happen even if it's wrong and unconstitutional. But if they throw out the whole Constitution, then then we're all screwed.
Nobody's throwing out the Constitution.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
How's this for a jury image?
What is it?
Let me see. I think it's too subtle.
I think I can't read the sign.
Ardmore, it's maybe too subtle, and then the jurors are going to say, wait, what does that mean? Or I can't read it. Or I think they're going to discuss that they can't read it.
They're gonna be more worried about they can't read the sign than the bra hanging from it.
I think so.
You can't tell.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah,
I
you can't
think-
tell that. It just looks like a rag or something.
The sign looks ghostly, and so I think that's really what they're going to get caught up on.
Is it the cross also? It's a cross.
I mean, if you're trying to make a statement, then make a statement.
It doesn't make anything. It's like anything.
Right.
By the way, Allison, it was FDR that signed the Japanese internment camps. He was a Democrat.
I know it doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican. I mean, the Democrats, were the racists in the South. So it was still
And
wrong.
when did it switch? It switched when
Reagan.
LBJ pushed the Civil Rights Act. When they passed the Civil Rights Act, it suddenly changed from Democrats to Republicans.
Yeah, now we have to pass another Civil Rights Act.
And it's
Meanwhile-
actually, I think it's actually gone back and forth a couple times.
Actually, most of the liberal considered liberal things like EPA, OSHA, all that
That's,
was
I know, that's
Nixon.
Nixon,
Yeah, who was a Republican.
right? So I don't
Yeah,
think
but
the
you have to
argument is,
remember, you have to remember that the Republican Party of today is the Democrat from our parents, and the Democrat Party from our parents is the Republican Party for now. It changed in the 70s. They flip flop.
You have to
Because-
remember that the people you're talking about were kids during the Depression. So that influenced them and how they lived and what they did. So all these comments you get, like, were you born in a barn if you didn't close the door? If you didn't turn the lights off when you left the room? That's from what they were forced to do because to save money, because they were cutting it close in terms of living.
yeah, and I don't think this is even a Democrat Republican thing. This is a
No, common sense
fascist
human thing.
versus democracy. I mean, I don't want the government telling me what I can and can't read, or
That's-
what I can or can't
That's a
do to my body.
Republican, that's a Republican statement then. Republicans lower government.
You know,
Except they took
I've
away my,
always said that.
excuse me, Barry. They took away bodily autonomy for 51% of the population in many states, and they're threatening to ban bodily autonomy if they get in. And I just don't think that should ever be a government issue. It's, doctors have fled states because they're afraid they're going to get arrested.
Well,
I just don't.
that's more of a where do you define life question, because part
Well,
of it,
but we're not all
part of-
Christians. Jewish people define life 7 days after the baby is born, so their First Amendment rights are being violated right now
Yeah.
so
because
the
they
part
don't
of the
believe.
government is to protect life. So that is
Actually, that's the living. I mean,
yes.
that's not the purpose of the government. The purpose of the government is really to provide safety, security, and liberty. So I don't know where it says to protect life. It should, but then we should ban guns.
Something that's really ironic is that artists' issues are very Republican in the sense that
You
don't
can't
want
say Republican
I don't want
now,
the
'cause it's like-
government intruding on what I do. I want my taxes to be as low as possible. These are all Republican things, ironically, not the evil Republican things that you're talking about, Allison.
They're not
It's just
Republicans
change.
today. Then you're talking about the old style Republicans.
That's right.
Not the
That's
ones,
right.
not the ones today that want to tell us what to read or who
They're
to pray
crazy.
to. We're not all
It's-
Christians.
They're crazy.
But if you
It's
look at
absurd.
if
some
you
of
look
these
at the
things.
overall economy, the overall economy has done better in periods where the tax rates were higher.
Yes. Like
And
the
when the overall
1950s.
economy does well, artists are going to do well. Because when the overall
Right.
economy is doing well, there's a whole lot more disposable income floating around out there for people to walk in and say, oh, I like that. I'm just going to buy it. They don't have to think about it. It's like, I got extra money. I'm not worried about paying the grocery bill, gas bill, electric bill, whatever. The money's there.
When
Mhm.
tax rates were higher,
Yes, it's called the Great Conflation, and it happened from post-World War II until about the 70s. It was the most equal time, not to say there weren't poor people and rich people, but it was the most
Yes.
equal time. People were able to buy homes.
Yes.
In
The bottom and the top were way closer together.
Yes.
Now it's
Great
absurd.
Conflation. Great Conflation. Look it up.
These
Yeah. It is-
corporate, the current inflation is due to corporations charging a ridiculous amount of money for their products. They don't have to charge this much.
Well, but
listen,
Barry, it's because they're monopolies, and I guess we're getting off subject here. This is supposed to be art related, isn't it?
well, it is our subject because these people buy our stuff. It's part of it.
So what I'm worried about is if the right-wing Christians win, the white nationalists, excuse me, that they are going to bar women from interstate travel, and I won't be able to run my business anymore.
oh my God.
Because women are already banned from bodily autonomy, from leaving certain states if they are pregnant, like the state of Idaho.
Yeah, that's pretty pathetic. It'll get back to the old days when abortions were
It's-
illegal and you'd have to go to
It's not
some
going to go
back-
back to the old days because a lot of us were born with these rights. You know, we're getting them back. They're
I
not
was
taking
I
our
was
rights
talking-
away.
You're
to my
talking
mother
about a
today.
small sect of one portion of the right wing, which is not
No. Abortion is banned in is banned
Does it-
in I don't know how many states, like 25, 30 states. I mean, I could look it up, but
not in Michigan.
not in New Mexico.
Michigan is blue. Michigan is controlled by the Democrats completely. It's not going to happen in there. But look at Texas. Look at Mississippi.
Actually, we have a Democratic governor, but just recently, it's a Democratic state house. For 20 or 30 for 20 years or 30 years, it was controlled by the Republicans.
Yeah, and then they
It's
changed a
ridiculous.
bunch of things to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right.
No, this is the I'm going to tell you, take it out of bring it back to earth. I think that me personally, I don't mind paying taxes if I know
I
they're going to
agree.
get used the proper way. But
But when they talk about taxes being higher, typically the tax rate was higher on the highest incomes and wasn't quite as high on the middle class. There was a bigger difference between what, you know, people earning $100,000 paid in taxes versus what people earning 100 million paid in taxes.
Right. Or to put it a different way, Mitt Romney per capita pays less taxes than any of us here.
yeah, but this is the thing.
Percentage
So
wise.
did Apple. So does
Right.
Apple right now.
But you know, the problem is that a lot of people don't. Sooner or later, it's going to come to this. The people that buy the products from the corporations are mostly low-income people, middle class, the middle class down. There's more of those than the operational. So when you squeeze the bottom part so much that they don't have money to buy anything, the corporations are going to start losing income because the vast majority of people are the people they can.
Bingo.
Okay. So
Right.
here's
And
how
then-
absurd this
So
is.
And
The
some
tax
companies,
rate right after World War II, the highest people were 95%. That quickly
Wait,
ended up being 75% through
Court
the
had the
50s and
floor.
everything.
Court had the floor, so let him speak for a second.
there are a few companies, I believe retailers, who had bought into the, well, you know, we're just going to keep raising prices and raising prices. And they saw a drop off and they had to come back down and start, excuse me, dropping prices.
Interesting.
When was
It's
that?
the
I
same
missed
thing
that.
that
In
we
the
tell
last
people.
6-9 months.
Well, look at McDonald's. All the fast food industry is running specials. McDonald's just announced yesterday they're extending their special because people aren't buying the regular stuff.
Well,
It's
because it's toxic shit.
$9 for a value meal.
Excuse me, it's unhealthy, toxic shit that's going to give you a heart attack.
Yeah, but some people,
Yeah.
that's all they could afford.
Yeah.
Well,
Go over there
that's
and talk to
a
them.
crime. That is terrible. That the unhealthiest food, and I know this to be true. The unhealthiest food is the cheapest.
They're
Not
closing
cheap
on
anymore.
It's
They're
just the same thing with artwork and pricing. You price it up, you keep raising the prices until you get to the point that people are buying, and then you have to lower the price down until you hit the sweet spot. And I don't think that corporate America doesn't get the memo, and the rich people don't get the memo. You know, you're going to squeeze the bottom part so much they're going to start buying things, and suddenly you're not going to have customers.
Yes, that's
It's
right.
already
And
happening.
that's what's going to be happening. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. It's just that they don't have the sight to see that. You know, the dollar stores are going away. They probably bankruptcy left and right because the poor people don't have money to go to even to those stores. And sometimes, at least in my experience, and when I used to live in Humboldt Park, if I didn't want to get into my car and drive 15 minutes to the Target, I would have to go to the Family Dollar and get the products from there that I needed because it was more cost effective for me to go to the Family Dollar. But when the Family Dollar starts charging you the same amount or more than Target, why are you going to buy a Family Dollar? So then you go to Target. So it's just,
Hey,
I don't know, it's
Larry.
getting out of hand.
Well, and a lot of those companies, or 5 of those companies, are monopolies. So, you know, there's that issue too. And that's why they're allowed to squeeze us. You know, they get us used to their products, like phones and computers and all that crap. And then,
Well, it's
you know,
interesting that
then we need,
has anybody seen the stories on Walmart's new digital pricing?
no.
Walmart is rolling out digital pricing.
What does this
They're
mean?
labeled at certain times of day.
Sounds
So-
like it means that as the stock drops, the prices go up.
It will enable them to do what's called surge pricing.
Oh,
And it means that instead of having a printed label stuck to the shelf that says the price is X number of dollars, it's going to be an electronic tag. And
So
they
that-
can,
so that was done with concert tickets, right? And so if a lot of people want to buy a ticket, it could go from $150 to $1,000, right? So there's no actual price. So that
well,
sounds like,
there would be an actual price. And I think Burger King just talked about they were going to do surge pricing. And so if you went in at lunchtime, the prices were going to be higher than if you went in middle of the afternoon.
this is
And
why
it's
we
going to
need
be
more
like
regulation.
Wait a minute.
This is why we
The
need more
airlines
regulation.
do that.
Most restaurants, it's cheaper at lunchtime than it is at night,
Right.
at night for the same item, same
Right.
size. So
No. So
Imagine if we did that. I mean, it's, to me, it creates a feeling of dishonesty, and I would never. I mean, I wouldn't want to buy anything that way. It would just make me not trust the seller.
It's cheaper to
saying
get
to
an
me it's
airline
going to-
ticket. The airline tickets on Monday are more expensive than they are on Tuesday.
Right, Tuesday and Wednesday are the least travel days, supposedly.
No,
There
to
you
buy,
go, Corey.
if you buy it
You
on,
have to fly on Wednesday.
not
Oh.
travel on that day, if you buy it on that day.
Ah, got it.
Or don't fly on Delta.
Oh. So if you go to a store and you need to buy, I don't know, a box of tissues, it could be a different price each time. Oh, that seems so messed up.
I
Well,
just
this could be,
buy by the case from
That's-
Sam's Club.
use a
Well,
handkerchief.
sure.
they're doing it because they have it there. It takes an incredible amount of work in a large store to keep the prices updated.
Hmm.
I mean, I worked in a small Target,
Uh-huh.
and we had a person that did nothing but change prices. That was their job.
So are you saying the digital pricing is for convenience, or is it so they could be flexible with the price? I guess that's what I'm confused
Both.
about.
Well, they're saying it is for convenience.
Mhm.
They're saying it is for convenience, and it will allow them to more quickly update prices, and lower prices was specifically mentioned, but it also allows them to very quickly change prices on a large number of items.
Right.
You know,
I think
in the winter,
barcode.
if there's a snowstorm coming, I guarantee you the price of milk and bread's going up that day.
Right.
but basically that's what Uber and Lyft do. This peak hours, prices, and they can do that. And that it's the model that Uber and Lyft use. They sometimes you take a ride in the morning, it's more expensive than taking a ride at 10 a ride at 8 o'clock in the morning is going to cost you more than a ride at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And they can do that with lunch. You also, it kind of just, and if you think about it, kind of justify to keep the demand of the people coming in. You have to have more employees, so it costs more money to the restaurant to operate between 11 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then again, it costs more money to operate from 5 p.m. to 8 o'clock at night. So I can see them charging more money for that because you need more staff to keep up with the demand. And when
Right,
the
but
order time,
but you have a higher demand, which should cover the higher staff costs.
it should be, but you never know until you see the numbers.
The
Well,
Uber,
and-
the Uber makes sense too, because you're probably sitting in rush hour traffic and you're going the same distance, but it's taking more gas to get there because you're sitting.
Yeah. So that's probably what they're doing. They're just following a model and see if they can apply it to retail. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right, but
It would prevent me from buying things. When I deal with stone suppliers, I feel like some of them are just making up the price, and I don't buy from them because it makes me feel uncomfortable and that it's not fair. It's about fairness.
That's why you need to have prices on your work in your booth.
Let me know
I have
when I can
heard-
make some comments, actual facts about two different things that we've been talking about already.
Go ahead, Barry.
Take the
Okay.
floor.
The price of gold was constant until 1971 when it went off United States went off the gold standard and allowed the
Right.
market to determine the price. That was supply and demand of gold.
Was that in
And basically
1970
gold
though, or was that
investments.
earlier? I think
The
that was
other one
earlier, though.
is the income tax rate on the highest incomes in the 50s was around 90%, 91%. So, which is absurd that like when Trump lowered and the Congress lowered the tax rate from 35, the highest tax rate from 35 to 26%. It's absurd. Why would they be complaining about that when the tax rate not even 75 years ago was way higher, and we seem to
They
have gotten
pay-
along. In fact, I think it could be argued that our highest prosperity happened in the 50s when the tax rate was that high.
That's right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
you also have to
true.
look at what the tax rate is on though, Barry, because the people
Income tax.
Yeah, it was income tax. So
That's what I'm talking about.
a lot of the
Let
rich
her
back
speak.
then, a lot of the rich back then had money in assets, but not necessarily income. So it didn't affect them as much. So it all depends on if people are getting their money from income or if they're getting it from inheritance or, that kind of thing.
You're right. From investments, and the reason I use Mitt Romney as an example is because his income could be, let's just say, as a senator, it was 100 grand, 100,000 a year, but he could make, I don't know, 45 million. I'm just throwing these numbers out in his investments and only get taxed at the 15% rate. So the 15% rate was given to investors to promote investment, but as it stands now, you have people who, in 2 minutes, they make billions of dollars just from their money sitting in, in a mutual fund or whatever it's sitting in. And so income is taxed, working income is taxed higher than investment income.
Did you know that there is I don't remember exactly what the number is, but there is a list of about 100 items, 150 items that people price check, and that Walmart actively make sure that the items on this list are the lowest, and those items have the lowest prices of anywhere in their store, in their area.
Like,
That
can you give
Walmart will have
can
the
you give an
lowest
example?
prices on those items.
Can you give an
Now,
example of what kind of
milk.
items?
Milk,
Gallon of
yeah.
milk, a loaf of bread.
They used to have a policy, if you showed somebody else selling it cheaper, that they would match that price.
Right. So, and I think it was like something like there was a light bulb on that list, but it was a certain wattage light bulb, like I'm just going to say 100-watt light bulb.
I think it's bread and butter.
Yeah, bread, milk, butter, but there's this list of items that people price shop. And if you go into Walmart, Walmart will have the absolute lowest prices on those items. Now, for items that are not on that list, Walmart doesn't care. Walmart's going to charge you whatever the hell they want. And there was an example of, like a light bulb that wasn't, a standard light bulb. It was like one of the 3-way dimming light bulbs. And, you could go to your local hardware store and buy it cheaper than you could buy it at Walmart. Because it wasn't an item on that list.
But if you were there already, you might buy it, right? Isn't that part of the...
But people don't understand the way that Walmart does their pricing. So they go, Walmart's got to be cheaper than my local, my local hardware store.
Doesn't everybody compare prices? I have my whole life.
Only on certain items.
Well, I do it on every item. So,
yeah, but not everybody does that.
Yeah.
It was really, this comes from, I sat through an hour and a half long presentation done by a gentleman who works with small communities, businesses in small communities and small communities overall on dealing when Walmart comes to town. Because Walmart is known in small communities to kill their business district downtown.
The main street.
So this guy was a professor in economics, I believe, at a university, and he did this presentation on basically, if you find out Walmart's coming into your small town, here's what you can do to help your businesses and help them stay alive.
It isn't just Walmart. It's Lowe's, it's Office Depot, it's Home Depot, it's Menards. There's
Costco.
I love Costco.
but if you're going to go to Costco to buy meat, maybe instead of the local butcher, right? I mean,
no.
Costco puts. Yeah.
I found meat at Aldi's is cheaper than Costco. Bye.
See, Court, your price, you're checking the prices. You buy it.
I do it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
What did you say? I didn't hear what you said though. You found meat.
At Aldi's.
I haven't. I'm going to check next time I go to Aldi's. There was a particular cut of meat that I like that's used. It's a little. It used to be almost impossible to find unless you were knew somebody. It is skirt steak. It's what's used in fajitas, and when fajitas took off, it became almost impossible to get. It's extremely expensive, and it's a really cheap cut of meat.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it must not have been expensive because my mother always she would marinate skirt steak, and it had to have been inexpensive.
Yeah.
Like a long time ago.
I worked at a
It-
place and it was the cheapest meat.
Yeah, it is.
cut of meat.
It's $1 a pound cheaper at Aldi's than it was at Costco.
I never buy meat at Costco.
I did. I bought
They
meat at
have
Costco.
higher grade though, if that's
Pardon?
important to you. They have a higher grade of meat at Costco.
You have to be careful because sometimes they carry different grades, and sometimes they'll have different grades in the same cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't buy the one thing I don't buy in Costco is meat because I cannot eat it fast enough. So I always go to Aldi, and I agree with you, Corey. It's about the same price or cheaper, depending what you're buying.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The quantities are so huge at Costco that sometimes, you know, if you do the math, the other thing is you could buy a huge quantity of something and then it just goes bad, so it's not really cheaper.
All right. What we do is we eat a lot of pork. And so we'll spend $25 and buy one of the massive pork loin roasts, and I'll bring it home and I'll cut it into the last one I cut into thirds and cut them and package them in individually into thirds. 2 of them go in the freezer and we eat one. And I'm about to take another one out of the freezer. And I can cook it as a roast. I can slice it into pork chops, you know, whatever.
the other thing is their hamburger. They grind it themselves and they only source it from one individual cow carcass. They don't mix meats from different sources.
Oh,
So
wow.
there
You're
is-
in the know.
I go to the farmer's market on Saturday and I buy burger. I don't really eat steak anymore, so I don't really buy steaks. But I get ground beef and I know how the cow is fed and how it's everything's taken care of, and that's where I get that. And I go to the fish market that's like a half a block away. They bring the fish in, and they also import some stuff, but their prices are really reasonable. And I'm not going to tell them that they're cheaper than it is in Chicago or some other place. So I found the places that are cheaper around here, and they happen to be in some cases much better. You know, less preservatives, less crap in it. So, but I'm surprised that more people don't price shop, because I've done it my whole life. I thought everybody does that, you know.
I think it's more of a convenience thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, I won't go driving around. I only go out like once a week to go shopping, food shopping if I have to. So I'm not
Actually,
gonna,
my wife is out quite a bit. But if I want, grocery store is 15-minute drive. Any grocery store. The real grocery store is 15-minute drive. It's
Mhm.
an older, small grocery store. They've got most of the basics, but they don't have things like fresh parsley. If I want to go to Aldi's, that's a little over 20 minutes. Target's a little over 20 minutes. It's across the street from Aldi's, and the big fancy grocery store, which is the same company as the little local grocery store. The big version of that is also a little over 20 minutes. It's up in the same strip mall as Target.
Mhm.
But in my area, you have basically 3 choices for grocery. Well, you have Walmart and Target. You have really one grocery store chain in this area, and Aldi's, and then you have all what I call the high-end fancy, you know, Whole Foods, and there's a few like that. So if you just want to go to a regular grocery store, you don't have a lot of choice in this area.
that's a problem for a lot of rural places. I've got a friend who she has to do her grocery shopping at Walmart because the larger city is like 4 hours away.
Well, I mean, I can be in Wichita in less than half an hour.
Mhm.
So it's not that I'm so far out in the country. It's just that in Wichita, there's basically one, what I call regular grocery store chain anymore. All the others have closed up. You know, there might
Oh,
be
really?
a couple mom and pop ones.
Oh,
And then you have,
that's it.
we have Walmart, Target, and one grocery store chain.
Wow. For a whole I mean, that's pretty wild for, I mean, a city. What happened?
The other ones couldn't make it. And the grocery
Mhm.
store chain is, they call it, there was a regional chain based in Kansas that had grocery stores in Kansas. Used to be great. They were bought by Kroger. Kroger bought
Oh, I
them.
see. Merged. Okay.
Kroger bought them, and the quality's gone downhill. So in essence, even though the name on the store says Dillon's, it's a Kroger store.
Right.
And there's no other chain grocery stores in the area.
Mhm. We have a huge amount of grocery stores for the size town that it is. And I go to the local food co-op. It's $15 a year to be a member, which I think is very cheap. And the food here is just wildly expensive. But considering it costs so much, you know, they do a really good job at curating it, you know, and you know, where they get their food from, because there's plenty of food that doesn't grow here. So they have to get it from elsewhere, but they get a lot from California where it's all grown. But we've got,
It's not a co-op, but there's a program here that started online that hooks you directly with producers. So
Oh.
I could actually buy meat directly from a rancher. I could buy
Got it.
produce from, you know, somebody that's growing produce, a truck farm.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great.
But you
I
just have
just
to buy a
want to
certain
tell you-
quantity.
One thing
No,
that you have to,
this is set up for this is specifically set up to bypass all the people in the middle and go directly from the producer to the end user. And I'm not
Mhm.
talking, and I'm talking individuals as opposed to like a farm to table restaurant.
Mhm.
Right.
and one thing, Allison, what I find out when I live in Florida, when I stay in the campground,
Hmm.
the Walmart that is in La Belle, the supermarket area, is really good compared to other Walmarts. So depending which Walmart
Yeah.
you go, might make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't go
Because
to
where we
Walmart,
are,
but yeah.
it's Walmart or Winn-Dixie. Those are the
Yeah.
two choices in La Belle.
Yeah,
And the
I
Walmart,
second that, Oscar.
you know,
I found that too at that LaBelle, you know, and the produce is good and
yeah,
it's reasonable.
and it's really good compared to, you know, because there's no Publix, there's no, and the Costco is an hour and 15 minutes drive from the campground.
Oh, that's far.
So
but
they are,
they deliver.
yeah, I know, but I don't know if they're going to deliver in the middle of freaking nowhere. So it crossed my mind, trust me,
I like going there.
you know, but
I got a check to cash at Costco's.
yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to let you guys go because it's almost 2 hours and I need to make a
Yes.
couple of calls.
Oh, I gotta go too.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
All right.
Bye.
Larry, I will not see you next week because I'll be on the road. So thank you.
Same
All
here.
right.
On the
Safely.
road again.
Drive
I
safely,
can't wait to
Willie.
get on the road
Thank you.
again.
Willie. All
Okay,
right.
Larry.